this question is there a specific period of time that it takes for an individual spirit to leave its body? In other words, we don't want to have one of those situations where somebody gets buried prematurely and they're still alive. We do need to make sure that their spirit has left their body. And there are beliefs, well, generally, I'm just checking to make sure we're coming at this from the direction they want us to. Okay, got a nod. Generally, beliefs around this have been solidified in relation to previous experience. It's kind of like way back here, there was an experience that caused someone to feel strongly that, oh, we need to do this. That belief was carried forward and forward and forward. Nobody questions it necessarily anymore. It's just a belief, and it seems to be fine. That being said, there are different beliefs about what needs to happen after somebody's spirit leaves their body. In some instance, and that they're all, for the most part, maybe we'll get to the for the most part, but that they're all fine. So for example, actually they're showing me when I'm connected with somebody who's crossed over and they show me their passing, I do see different ways. I'm not sure if this relates to the subject or not, but I see different examples of how spirits leave bodies when somebody is dying. When a young person, for example, is in a severe accident and they're pronounced dead on the scene, when I see that, the spirit comes up as being shocked and amazed. There was no expectation of this happening and that sort of thing. And their spirit just goes wham. It just flies out of their body. And it's a shock to the spirit. No wonder they're surprised. And everybody is shocked that there was this very sudden death. On the other hand, there are individuals who are ill, for example, and everyone is expecting them to cross over, and that individual is just holding on for their, out of their strong desire to stick around. And that one looks like their spirit just kind of dribbles out, dribble in a little tiny overtime dribble. And then finally, ding, that last little bit detaches and their spirit actually leaves their body. So from that perspective, there's a whole range of how quickly, and also showing me somebody who is in an accident where they hold on. Oh, here's another example, and I do recall this one because it was very vivid. Somebody actually shot themselves and in the head. It was not very nice to see, but they didn't die. And in looking for that individual spirit for their loved one who was sitting in my reading room, I actually saw where his spirit dribble. He was out here, and I don't remember why, but for some reason it was like nope, and wham, back into his body. Well, he never recovered. His body's still going, his life force is still in there, but he's not a very highly functioning individual. Another example, and that is where people can have these life-changing out-of-body experiences and come back and live to tell about it. In that instance, his quality of life is very, very poor, and it comes up that a purpose he is serving is actually for the people around him to be able to help him. It's good for them to be able to be of service to another. It's good for them to think about his situation and go, oh, I don't think I want to do that. There are ways that other people outside of him can learn from him sticking around, if that makes sense. There are scientific, like medical things that people can learn. So it isn't his life is entirely wasted. He's just probably not very aware of it in his physical body right now. So I have wandered off, and we are back to, is there a particular timing? And they're showing me 3 days. That, for example, and that is based on the, back here it was necessary that, wow. I'm saying, oh wow, because it can be some very mundane thing way back in a culture's history that causes them to believe X, Y, Z, and that there was some good reason for that way back then, and nobody questions it now. And it's like, well, that's okay. Just go with that if that makes you, if that's comforting. There's another example of where, and I'm sure this happens, where some spirit has left their physical body. The body is still laid out, being taken care of and ministered to. The spirit shows up and is aware of that. And there are people in the room who go, oh, there they are. They realize that the spirit is showing up. And so they wonder, have they really disconnected from their physical body? Often, I should say, their showing up is because the spirit who has left the physical body shows up in the room with the people who are laying out this individual's body. He shows up because he's interested, he's curious, he doesn't want to leave his body yet, and it's mostly the emotion of the connectedness to the people in the room. How are they treating me? How do they really feel about me? It's the impact of the relationship kind of things, and the respect that's being shown for their physical body, and usually for them, that has the big impact. It's not about rejoining the body or anything like that. Anyway, there are lots of individual examples of individual circumstances. The final result being, they are now showing me India. This is a while ago. This is a really, really crowded city. This is a slum kind of crowded city. Oh, this is Mother Teresa, where dead bodies would be lying in the street. People would die on the street, and people would step over them. And that it's really kind of sad for the spirit who has crossed over, although there's relief and release for the individual leaving their physical body in that difficult circumstance. But then it becomes just a health issue. And then it's like, okay, we've got to get rid of what is no longer seen as a living body. It's more like, this could be a problem, we need to take care of it. But there are also religious and spiritual, can be religious, spiritual aspects that they're actually showing me there may not be. People. So sometimes it is more a matter of, I don't want to say it this way, but cleaning up like we would clean up roadkill, and get it, take care of it, but return it back to the energy of the earth ultimately for our health, safety, and well-being, and also to complete that cycle. So there are all kinds of situations. There is no one answer. It is dependent on the situation and the other individuals involved, and that it all ends up all right. There may be people who are upset in the interim, but it ends up with the physical body getting back, the energy getting back into the earth, and the spirit having totally separated and usually crossed over. That comes up for clients all the time, where someone's spirit, in this instance of dribble, or wham, out of their body, they are still present. Or at least I have not seen one where they automatically cross over to the other side. I've always seen where they hang around a little while, but they're detached from their body.
So the body still could be taken away.
Yes. And they may follow it to see what happens. I've seen that happen. They may be curious about, okay, and they show me all kinds of things that happens, and they're going, like, really? And they're watching their body being pushed into this cold place and dark, and anyway, but it helps them realize that they are no longer in their physical body. It helps them come to grips with the idea of, oh, I really have died. I've detached from my physical body. And then very often there is a loved one or a mentor who is already crossed over, who will connect with them and help guide them through that period of time of recently being passed. They may hang around through the period of burial, family get-togethers, and so on, but ultimately most of them will cross over to the other side. So how long they hang around is also variable on the individual level. People who don't have anything to hang around for, so to speak, will cross over more quickly. People who have a unfinished business or a very strong belief that I need to help my daughter, I can't leave her, whatever, as one example, may be earthbound. But nevertheless, their spirit is separated from their physical body under those circumstances. People may not know they have left their body, particularly in, there saying are two instances, and one is when there's a great deal of denial, like I don't want to die, and they just can't believe that that's the case, although everybody else may have expected it. And the other one is particularly young people, and young people can go up into your 40s and 50s. I mean, people who are in an accident that takes their life very quickly. It's those where I see, wham, their spirit is just thrown out of their physical body. And it's really hard for young people, to come to grips with that because their life has been cut short. So then going to the other side, and do they come back? The immediate example, near-death experience, but they never have detached all the way. There's still a tether of their spirit attached to their physical body. It's never been completely severed. And then the idea of coming back is more, well, sure, you can come back in another lifetime, but it acknowledges that detachment of spirit from physical body that apparently is very, very real and may have an effect on the spirit. You don't forget about it as a spirit, but in terms of physical body, it's like, back to the earth or back to the water or back to the atmosphere or whatever. The physical part is really over, and if you want to come back, you get a new body.